Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to Coach Clack's Corner here at Old Blind Dog. I am Jamie Bendel, together with
Adam Haig. But the great thing is we're live here, so sometimes we want to cut it up and we want to reset, but we can't because it's live. And so we're living
we're
by
not
the stream.
taped. We're not.
No, we're not taped. We're not going to be editing out. This is live.
I was specifically told we were taped.
No, so you need to limit your cussing. You need to cut it all down because this is a family show. Coach Clack has a nice reputation in our community right now, and you and I'm a little concerned about it.
All right. Well, we are clearly the weak link, but we have signed our waivers. Hopefully the audience has as well. Welcome, of course, to this edition of the program. Coach, welcome to the show. How about a round of applause from our live audience here?
Look at all these beautiful faces. All these beautiful faces.
Yeah.
So we're coming off the most recent game. We're coming off the Milton Eagles Buford Wolves game. We've had two games in the season. We saw the Alpharetta game, a beautiful win against a crosstown rival. The Buford Milton game, an incredible battle right up till the end. Give us a little bit, kind of what you take away from this week's game. One of the great things about coming away with a loss is you usually have lessons that come out of it. Give us some high-level ideas that came out of this game, and your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing we pride ourselves on is we work the process, and each week is about learning lessons. Win, loss, good, bad, in between. But starting with the high points, as I did with the guys on the field afterwards, is what I call our big boulders, our bet, our brotherhood, effort, and toughness, I thought was on full display. One of the high points to me actually came at the low point when, we kind of, that last opportunity and the punt didn't go our way, and you got a young guy back there in a pressure moment, and things happen. That's a tough job to have, and he's back there because he's one of the guys that wants to be back there. And, would be real easy for the average team, the seniors, to feel let down, turn their back. But before that young man could get off the field, there were 5 guys there to greet him and pick him up. And I thought that was special. It's week 2. It sucks to lose, especially against a big stage like that. But when you have perspective of, hey man, these are young men coming together, it's pretty awesome. Obviously, our effort and our competitive toughness was on display because there are a million times that we could have quit in that game. It definitely, the momentum had swung in the second half there, and man, they just kept bailing us out and kept grinding and working and caught a little lightning in the bottle there at the end and just came up a little short.
Yeah.
So we talked in a different conversation that we had. We talked about specifically the Alpharetta game, and it was kind of chip. You stuck with the plan, and then finally you had a breakthrough in the second half like you anticipated. Did you see that Buford game going a similar way? Did you feel as though, as we got into the second half there, you started to see some of the things that you'd hoped to see?
It was a similar game plan, not the same, but similar. We were hoping that, if we could have got what we wanted to get established on offense, if we could have got, really got going, stopping the run on defense, that we could have maybe wore on them a little bit as the game went on. But we never really found that rhythm. All 3 phases, they were a quality opponent, and they were well prepared and they had a great plan. So yeah, it was a little more kind of going to option B and C there, and just trying to find some things that got us sparked. I know defensively we simplified a few things. We tightened up our communication. Offensively we never really got going per se the way we want to in the run game. But we were able to have a few explosive plays there. And I think what you saw as that game started to turn was we were coming to life. I felt like, had there been another quarter, had we actually forced it in overtime, I really felt good about our chances there because I felt that they were starting to fade as we were coming on right there. So still see those bright spots. It's just going back, with the guys today, had the list of 12 things of, all the ways that we kind of beat ourselves in that game and want to learn those lessons. And again, the encouraging thing is, of those 12 things, all of them very correctable. All of them we can get back and go to work and if we could rewind that game and play it again and correct half of those things, I feel good about the outcome.
And when we look at the game, it was a game where, again, the Eagles don't quit. I mean, if we've seen anything in these first two games, it's that as the game goes along, we really start to shine later. We keep coming, and it's those guys in the trenches wearing them down. We talked a little bit about that last week, and the trenches are going to get worn down, and your big plays come out. But one of the things that, as a fan watching the game, was you just realize these kids never quit, and they never. I mean, and that's something that you walk away from that loss going, amazing. Like, that's going to be something obviously that helps you in the end. It was fun to watch. And again, to your point, you just kind of ran out of time. You didn't really lose. You just didn't have enough time.
Right, yeah. And that's one of those big boulders, right? You get down, but you're not out until the final whistle blows. And then, again, it's, we're not going to measure our yearly success on week-to-week scoreboards. We came up short in that game, but I don't feel like we're losing. I feel like, okay, that test, learn from it. Let's go back, fix the correctable things. It's real hard to fix team chemistry. It's real hard to fix effort. It's real hard to fix somebody having the courage to compete and the perseverance to stick through. Those things are intact. And I think they strengthened in a game like that. And that was the message. And I was kind of, at first, a little taken back because you expect to see, pick your head up, wipe your tears away. And there was none of that. And I was really proud of that because the kids have the proper perspective. Dang, Coach, we let that one slip away. Yeah, we did. So we got to go back as coaches, as players, as a collective team, and we got to look in the mirror and figure out, okay, where do we fix those things? Where are we coming up short, or what have we not, quite solidified yet, and go to work on those things, and that's what we plan to do this week.
So let's talk about what the game plan then becomes for this week. Do you substantially change a little bit about what your plan was going into it, coming off of a loss instead of a win? Is there a little focus on some areas that, and you mentioned the casual fan, and I think one of the tendencies for people who aren't necessarily as invested in the game sometimes, as no matter what the sport is, you focus on plays that are at the end of the game. But were there spaces along the way where you thought, boy, that was a play I'd really like to have back, because that could have been something that helped change the ultimate outcome of the game? So are there things that you now go back and you say, okay, let's refocus here, let's tighten these things up, put ourselves in a different opportunity to close out some of these games, rather than making it feel, again, for the casual fan to feel like it all comes down to a particular play at the end?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question, and that's something that, on Saturday I spent time with each coordinator and talking with some of the other coaches. It's just, hey, let's analyze. I felt like, we want to pride ourselves, this built different mantra that we have this year is all about being the most physical team, not just outlasting, but also, taking the fight to them. And I felt like we had the fight taken to us a little bit, especially early on. So hey, we want to be smart in practice. There's a fine line between having a physical practice and having a dangerous practice. So we talked about those things. The communication issues that we kind of had in all phases. We talked about those things. Just some of the things that we want to clean up. So you look at your practice, you look at what you're doing, and we came to the decision collectively that this is not a knee-jerk moment. This is a hey, let's stay the course. This was I would venture to say, if they were in 7A, they'd be a top 10 team. There's number one team in 5A. Of the 15 games we played last year, there might be 3 or 4 teams that I would say had better talent than that Buford team. So you want to be real careful not to go out fixing things that aren't broken, rather just improve on what we're doing. And the number one place we're going to improve is we are not practicing to the standard that we hold ourselves to. That doesn't mean the boys aren't taking it serious. That doesn't mean that we don't have good practices. But we're used to having great practices. So from period 1 to period done, we want to stay engaged and stay through that, and we want to stack good days on good days. And right now, for whatever reason, you go through this as a team. I mean, if you reflect back on last year, the year before that, you don't just wake up, roll out of bed in August and say, all right, we're a mid-season formed team. So we're going to go back to that. I'm constantly adjusting the flow of practice. I believe in that. There's a natural flow to things to keep engagement, to keep energy levels where they need to be. And then there's a sense of urgency that the boys and the coaches have to make sure we have every day. Even if we're tired and it's hot and all those things, we've got to come to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so that we're so prepared on Friday that the game is already kind of played. So that's kind of where we'll start. Like I said, it's communication within units. It's communication coming on and off the field. That's when you start to get busting coverages. That's when you got to burn timeouts because you don't have the proper personnel on the field. You can have a breakdown in special teams. The physicality piece, again, this was a much different team than what we've seen up to this point. It reminded me a lot, and I use this example, it reminded me a lot of the South Gwinnett game last year in the first round, because that was a different speed and strength than we had seen for 5 or 6 weeks. And we felt our boys kind of say, whoa, and had to really dig their heels in. And I think that's what you saw in the second half, and that was what was encouraging. If all 4 quarters would have had us just going backwards and getting beat down, maybe a little different story, but we were able to kind of right the ship and hold the rope, if you will.
So would you say that, so no coach wants to lose a game, but if you have to take a loss, and you're going to have a loss, is this the kind of loss that turns out to be a net positive as the season goes on, because it kind of comes at the right time, helps sort of reset a little bit of the focus and the work that it's going to take to achieve some of those goals that the team sets for themselves?
Time will tell if we learn the lessons.
Yeah.
Time will tell if we learn the lessons. I know some people hate the term, moral victory. I'm as big of a competitor as anybody, but I believe in them. But they're only moral victories if you learn the lessons. Coming up just short, oh, that was great. No, that's not the moral victory. Moral victory is, now we look in the mirror. These are the things we want to correct. If we go out and correct them, then this was a great moment in the season. Take last season for an example. Had those moments. I'll never forget the trick play. We call it razzle dazzle at the end of the Roswell game. That went in to score, and we would have won the game, but got called back for a legitimate, illegal forward pass. Everybody's distraught, and deep down in my mind, I was like, we deserve to lose that football game, and if we had a won right there, we probably don't look in the mirror as hard as we need to.
Sure.
And I kind of feel that way about the other night. Man, would I love to have pulled that out. Man, would it have been awesome to have that ball one last time and go out and go down to score. But, we jumped off sides going for 2. We gave up 2 explosive touchdowns. We had several opportunities. We had multiple explosive plays that we didn't connect on because of this or that. Our tackling is not up to our standard. Tons of things in that game that we got to look in the mirror and go out and fix, and you look a little bit harder after a loss. And I always believe that having a shot at the end and showing that, oh man, we are close, is much better than going down and getting blown out in the long run. Those never feel good.
Oh yeah, no.
So as you kind of turn the page on last week's game, we're headed to California. Excited about what's going to happen out there, and tell us a little bit about kind of how you close. And I think you kind of built this a little bit, but tell us about how you close the door on that game. You take away what you can from that game, and you move forward with probably one of your most competitive games of the year. Yeah,
you turn the page. It's that simple. You don't have time to sit around and pat yourself on the back for 2 or 3 days with a win. You don't have time to sit down and cry yourself to sleep after a loss. You learn the lessons and you move on. And we should be primed for the best week of practice of our year. Now, hey, we got more potential sudden change coming up. It's supposed to be a record heat tomorrow and potential storm. So we've already built in some contingency plans, maybe going in the morning some, maybe doing this and that. So we've got those things kind of working. And we just want to keep the boys dialed in, and they do a great job of responding to that. I want them to look at this as this is an unbelievable opportunity for our team to go in as one team and come out as a completely different team, and with things that aren't even about the football game. We're going to go and get to travel on a plane together. We're going to stay in hotels together. We're going to go see sights together and be on the beach and see different things. And if we can handle that and still prepare and go out and be mentally ready to play a football game against a really, really good opponent, man, we're going to come back feeling like we really took a huge step forward. And when we look back on this stretch of the season, last week, this week, and then the following week coming back, hey man, you're going to be on fumes on Monday, but we got to get right back to work. Coaches are going to be working on the plane and putting a plan together and meeting and calling. And hey man, we get back on Monday, we're ready to go. Because it's Roswell, and we're just going to keep going. So huge opportunity for our team.
Talk about that a little bit. So you're going to you'll have some kids on the team who this may be their first plane ride, right?
Yep.
And their opportunity to go play in this game, right, and take this kind of trip, really is a byproduct of the work of players that came before them.
Sure.
And the opportunities that players in subsequent years are going to have, so maybe kids that are in the feeder program right now, are going to be the result of opportunities that these players create for them. How do you kind of build getting the kids to embrace that idea that you're receiving some of the benefits of work that somebody did before you, and you need to put in the work to create opportunities for people that come behind you?
Well, now you're talking about building a program, right? Now you're talking about putting the M in front of the name on the back, and to me that can be a very powerful thing. That's something that you touched on the feeder guys. To me, a feeder program, a lot of people can go back and forth about its advantages, disadvantages, whatever. To me, the ultimate advantage of a feeder program is you are now part of a greater program, and you get to tie yourself to the things that those guys have done before you, and you get a standard set for you. So this experience is going to be, part of a greater patchwork for guys to see in the future, right? And then for guys who have been before them to take some pride in and saying, look, man, these guys are doing some really cool things. First time a team ever from Georgia's going out to California. Absolutely. The guys from the previous classes should have some pride in that.
No, it tells us a little bit about the team that you're going to be facing in California. What is that tournament? What should it mean? What does it mean that we're there? And tell us about the caliber of teams that you'll be seeing next week.
This all came about kind of randomly because GHSA moved the start date of the season back a week this year. So that's why we played Alpharetta in the Freedom Bowl. Then we had the Corky Cal, which we should have played first, but we should have been on a bye week last week. But regardless, we had an open game. We only had 9, so I had to fill that with just one, not a home and home, just a one time game. And randomly, there's this service called Gridiron Preps, and the guy Joe Mahomey, he saw us play in the Freedom Bowl last year, and he added us to his database. I had no idea what these emails were. They were coming, and it was like matchup opportunity, out-of-state opportunity. These people are looking, and so I reached out and said, who are you? So he said, look, Coach, I saw what y'all did with the Freedom Bowl. I saw y'all play against Cardinal Gibbons, and then I started doing some research. You guys are a program on the rise. That's what he said, and we talked a little bit. He kind of got my vision, and basically I want to go play anybody, anywhere. We talked about playing out in Texas and going out there, and we actually had that potentially ready to sign, and then they went dark on us when we started making our playoff run. So I'm back at square one, and Joe said, hold on just a minute. There's something cool going out in California. Would you be interested? I said, yeah, I'm interested. And it happened to be this Trinity showcase. So if you know anything about St. John Bosco and Mater Dei, you know that they're perennial powerhouses. Mater Dei is the back-to-back national champ, and basically St. John's only losses to them every year. And then JSerra is in that league with them. And JSerra is, year in and year out, a top 50 nationally ranked team. So they're bringing in 2 other teams from the D.C. area, St. Francis, who played in the Geico National Championship game versus Lee County and looked unbelievably tough. And then Good Counsel, who is out of that area as well. All 6 teams at some point last year into this year have been ranked in the top 50 nationally. Wow. So you're going to see a collection of talent out there that is, again, just great to be exposed to. It's great to kind of see that and realize, okay, this is kind of where we are, where we need to be. And it's just going to be a really cool environment and experience.
Out of curiosity, and I really actually don't have any idea how that component of it works, but does playing against that level of competition help kids who are looking to be recruited and being able to play at the next level? Is it a little bit of is it matchup based, or is it just really individual ability?
There's a lot of factors that go into that. For example, Paul Teo steps out on the football field somewhere in the remote areas of South Georgia that nobody's ever heard about, and people are going to find him. But what being on this level will do is give you more opportunities to go against great opponents. One thing, you're always watching film and you see a guy stand out, or you see a team look great, or whatever. You're always wondering, okay, well, who was that against? Because sometimes you can look like $1 million, but if the opponent was not really of the Division I or the top tier caliber, then you don't really know. In these games, that these guys are going to be going against high caliber guys. So if you shine here, that will turn heads, it just the nature of playing in a big game, a televised game. Just the Corky Kell game the other night, you had 6-8 college coaches on the sideline. Other guys are watching on TV, so the chances of being exposed are greater.
Does that help the individual player? So if a kid says, this is my goal, this is my objective, this is what I would like to do, is these kinds of games an opportunity to kind of measure up and say,
it can't hurt.
This is where I need to be, I'm excelling and I'm okay on track with my goal? Or they go, I need to dig down and do a little extra work because I see now the gap that exists?
Well, I think that's the nature of improvement. The ideal competition is something that is just about a standard and a half better than what you are. That's what you want to challenge yourself against. So again, going back to the kind of the start of the question, is this right for every team? No, you got to be in position to be able to compete with these guys, because getting out over your skis and playing somebody that is just head and shoulders better than you, that's not going to help you a whole lot. Right. But then conversely, playing somebody worse than you substantially, that's not going to help you a lot either. You want to find competition that is at your level, and ideally, I want to play people that on paper are just a little bit better than us. And yes, then hey, we excelled. That meant something. Or hey, we're not where we want to be, but we can kind of see what we really need to improve upon. And I'm going to get everybody's best effort, and the kids get fired up. And hey, you practice a little harder, you prepare a little harder, coaches, players, everybody, when the stakes are bigger and the stage is bigger.
That's great. So specifically the team we're going to be playing out there, what's the film on them? What can we expect to see? What is it going to be another war of the trenches? What are you expecting from the game?
Yeah, I do, and I hate to sound like I'm just repeating the same old things, but they are actually, when you think California football, if you know anything about it, it's kind of like quarterback, receiver, mecca. And there's tons of speed, and this real, where 7-on-7 and that kind of air raid stuff really kind of took off. But JSerra's kind of a throwback in comparison to most other teams. Their head coach is actually an ex-NFL lineman, I believe. I know there is some relationship with a Falcons player. Harley is his last name, or Howley, something. So they actually are going to line up and be in more of the kind of two tight end, fullback sets. Now they will spread it out. Got a really, really talented backfield, a couple good backs, a couple power. One guy, I know he's going to Penn State or something like that. Got some good big offensive linemen. Quarterback, his last name is his name's General Booty, and his brother, I think, played maybe at LSU. Defensively, just a lot of speed. Not quite the speed and size that we saw from Buford, but a lot of really talented guys as well.
When you have so much talent in the trenches, and the trenches kind of, the benefit of that can help you throughout the game, but it really shows itself later in the game. What are some strategies you do to kind of come out firing and to get the early going before the trenches have worn them down and it opens up the larger plays down the road?
Yeah, every week you're going to go in, and we just spent all morning and afternoon kind of putting together our plan, and it's based on where are their strengths and weaknesses versus our strengths and weaknesses. What is in our menu of plays and schemes and things that we feel like we're doing well and will fit well against them. We're extremely multiple in our offensive sets. So one thing we want to do is just, hey, okay, so where can we kind of get the best, indicators are what gives us, the best opportunity to kind of know where they're going to be to the best of our knowledge, and we kind of start from there, and then we'll just start building the plan out. And we never want it to get too big, but we want it to be big enough, and we want it to be, like you said, holistic enough so that we can, hey, if we can't just straight move somebody off the ball, we got answers for that, or we got some passing game answers, or we got some option answers, or we got some inside versus outside answers.
Okay, great.
So I'm curious about the mechanics of a trip, right? So I've taken family trips, I've taken family sports trips. They can be chaotic. How do you try to keep your players kind of in their routines when they're seeing new sites, they're doing new stuff? How do you stay focused on game plan? Are you bringing an extra curfew coach? Like how does all that stuff work?
The logistics.
What are your, as a coaching concerns, right? Your regular concerns Monday through Thursday are X. Now you put this whole team on a plane, you move them across the country. What additional variables are introduced that you worry about as a coach to say, look, fundamentally, this is going to be a life-changing experience. You're going to forever look back about the trip we took to California. But once we step on that field, this is a business trip, and we really need to do our job when we're on the field.
But I'd say, first and foremost, I got to give just a huge thanks and acknowledgement to my booster club who really stepped up and went above and beyond of setting up a lot of the travel logistics and helping me get all this stuff going and it not just consume my entire life. Secondly, I got a great coaching staff and support coming, and we've got some administrators coming, and we're traveling with about 60. So we feel like we're not going to be outnumbered too bad. So we got a lot of eyes. I really believe, and maybe I'll be saying something different when I come back, but I think this is a great group to take on a trip like this. They're a mature group. I think they're very appreciative of the experience that they're about to go on, and I think they understand the magnitude of that. And a lot of them tasted success last year and know, like, hey man, we got big goals this year, so let's don't do something that would jeopardize that. So obviously I've got a lot of anxiety about taking 60 boys into the airport and across the country, but I tell you, we have such a tight schedule. Even all the little things just kind of worked out. Flying out late was a good thing, because that means when we get there, it's bedtime. We're going to check into the hotel, we're going to bed. And so what that forced us to do, to really, I didn't want to go out there just to play football. We're going out there to have a life-changing experience. So our Friday, we're waking up at 7 a.m. to have breakfast. We're going to Venice Beach to do a walkthrough. We're coming back to shower. Then we're going to West Hollywood to see the sights there, getting back on the bus, going to UCLA to take a tour, then back on the bus, going to Bosco to tailgate with the families and the cheerleaders, watch a little bit of that game. And if you ain't tired after that, man, then I'm real excited about the next day.
That's where the conditioning comes in.
But that bedtime, get up, and even having a 4 o'clock game their time is good. It made that plan really easy. Get up, eat, have our team meeting. We're going to have our character lesson and do those things in the morning there. Give them about 2 hours of the entire trip. The 2 hours from our team meeting to lunch is the only unstructured time. And that should be time where they're back in their room, go get a little extra rest. You had a big day yesterday, got a big game coming up. Then we're right back into walkthroughs, bus, and we're taping and getting ready to send specials out to start our pregame routine. 4 o'clock kickoff. Hopefully we'll stay and watch a little bit of the second game. Back to the hotel, sleep, and we are up and out at 4:30 in the morning. So there ain't a whole lot of time to mess around.
All right. So speaking of not having time to mess around, do we want to do hot seat now?
Well, I just have one more question.
You got one more?
And kind
Okay.
of, as we think about kind of how this is ending up playing out, right? You had this week's game, which was not, a game we would have liked to win, but at the end of the day, the team showed a lot of gumption and a lot of moxie by staying. Moxie and gumption.
Moxie and gumption.
I mean, yeah, it's 1960.
That's a character lesson for the plane.
But they stuck with it.
prep.
They stuck together. They're building as a team. You're going to get them on a plane together. They're going to have this nice, whatever happens out there happens. But it'll be a common experience that they'll have together that will that will bond them. They come back and then they're facing a meaty schedule coming back. I'm really excited to see kind of the team that comes back from California. And just to see kind of, this builds actually really nicely. Like, you had kind of a game that you really owned with Alpharetta, the character builder, the common experience. Now, and now we kind of fire off into the rest of the season. It should be really awesome.
Well, and again, and that's, some people look at the non-region schedule and they're like, man, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Well, I'm not, you don't build a non-region schedule to build my resume of wins.
Right.
You going 10-0 has never been the goal for us. Being the best possible football team when we hit region, and then when we hit game 11 is the goal for us. And then we do that in the way we prepare. Just the way we're building this team puts us behind the 8 ball early in the year, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
When you're splitting time with two quality quarterbacks, when you're playing guys in multiple positions to build depth and to have flexibility, those type of things put you a little behind early in the season. But you do that because down the road, or you are hoping down the road, those things will pay off and give you that depth, flexibility, and competitiveness within unit to be practicing harder, better, and smarter than everybody when it really counts.
So, all right, this is going to sound like a silly pitch. But I'm a proponent of players stay on the field, coaches stay committed to the game plan until the final whistle. I want to encourage the fans to do the same, right? Stay engaged through the end of the game, because we have seen here this season start off where if you started thinking about, I might duck out here, you're really doing a disservice to all of the kids that are wearing our uniform and are out there on the field. They're competing all the way to the end. You guys are doing your best to coach right through the final whistle. And it's not that big a commitment for some of these kids, for the number of reps that they get to take during their high school careers, to say, I'm going to push through as a fan this last 30 minutes or this last 45. What are you saving? Right? We've got these terrific new roundabouts here. You're going to get home in plenty of time.
That's right.
You don't have to worry about a traffic backup all of a sudden, right? We have solved that problem for you. Watch through the end of these games because they're terrific.
The show's about to start. Like with both these games, it's been, don't leave early. Don't sleep on this team because the show's about to start. We talked last week about my 9-year-old daughter pulling my leg at halftime saying, Dad, let's go home. And then,
42 points later in the second half.
Suddenly, Alpharetta was in a lot of trouble in that second half, and she was like, "We're good here." She's like, "I don't need concessions. This is very exciting stuff." And so, don't sleep on this team. Don't leave early because the fireworks are about to show up.
Yeah, it's a great.
Don't walk out that gate because you'll miss the twist ending. It's M. Like Shala, whatever that guy is who did.
Sixth Sense?
Yeah, Sixth Sense.
Signs.
Don't leave because something's about to go
Something
nuts.
could be a twist.
It's about to
twist
turn.
at the end of the game. All right. All right. So speaking of twists at the end of the game, we're going to do 2 new things here that we're introducing. One is some hot seat questions.
Yes.
And then the second is we are, I think, going to set a new Coach's Corner record for a game that we're going to play at the end. And if we set the record...
Well, yeah, there's a couple things. So we are going to play a game after the hot seat, which is awesome. But if we set the record, on that, there will be a benefit to everyone who's attending. If we set the record, 5% off your tab tonight.
So what we're trying
Old Blind Dog is going to give us a little discount on everybody's tab.
Right. So again, stay to the end of the game and stay to the end of the wrap-up show.
Yeah.
Because there's a benefit.
Don't sleep on us either.
Don't be like,
Nice
I'm
segue.
taking my tab because I heard about next week's game. Stay all the way to the end. You may get a benefit as well. All right, so let's welcome in
let's bring
our
Brad
guest
in.
here. I'll give you the introduction.
Yeah.
I'm going to slide out.
Great.
And Brad, come on over.
So this is an exciting part. We're going to have Brad come in. He's just going to give you some random questions from left field to kind of tell us a little bit, so you get to know your coach a little bit better.
All right, highly anticipated.
This is, and it just comes hot. You're fired off. First thing that comes to your mind, Coach.
Rumor is on the iTunes website that this was all the positive feedback last week.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was a lot of positive feedback.
Oh, was it?
Brad had
No,
Brad had a little bit of it.
All right.
By the way, if you haven't listened to Empire Sports, it's a pretty great one. We're going to be on the podcast this week, but check it out. The hot seat is a highlight.
Here we go. On the clock.
On the clock and go.
Coach, favorite board game.
Favorite board game? Monopoly.
Middle name.
Jackson.
If not your truck, what would you drive?
Jeep.
Oh, nice. What?
Yours. Let me have it.
Yeah. What other sport would you coach if you weren't coaching football?
Wrestling.
Favorite city in California?
Los Angeles.
On Friday, will you jump in the Pacific Ocean?
Absolutely.
Are you afraid of sharks?
Never.
What are you afraid of?
Nothing.
Nice.
From Hard Knocks, 3 questions from Hard Knocks. Coach Gruden has Y2 Banana. What is the craziest sounding play call we have?
Oh man. Let's see. In the menu this week, we've got one called. Oh my God! You put me on the spot. That is the only thing I'm drawing a blank on. Miami Vice. We got one called Miami Vice this week.
I was also a big fan of Big Papa.
Big Papa is a great one.
Awesome. Coach Gruden has knock on wood if you're with me. What is your go-to saying?
My go-to saying, I'd probably be sudden change.
Perfect. Coach Gruden also says to keep his mind sharp, he likes to count down from 100 to 1 by threes. Ready, go.
All right, 100. 97, 94, 91, 88, 85, 82, 79, 76, 73, 70, 67, 64,
All right, we're good.
61.
That's good. That's good.
My God. I am blown away. I literally would have stopped at 97. He would have had me at 97, maybe 94. That's amazing. That was awesome. So I'm going to switch seats with you, Jamie, so you guys can have the direct interaction on the question.
Okay.
Yeah. So the way this game's going to work, Coach, we've got everyone filled out a football-related topic. You're going to pull this at random, and then you just have to give Jamie clues so that he says whatever is on the card.
Can't use the word.
If he says the word, just drop it on the ground, pull the next one. We're going for time here. We're going to do 1 minute.
You need the timekeeper. Stay there.
Okay, I'll stay here. As many as you can get in 1 minute. If we get a record tonight, 5% off everyone's tab at the Old Blind Dog. And wait just a second. I'm pulling up my timer. Should have had this up.
I don't have to say like one word thing. Like I can.
Whatever the word is on there, you just give me clues.
You just can't say
I
that
try to
word.
guess. This is our $100,000 pyramid. Since we can't play that while we go on our trip to California.
And I'll do it next week and probably create a new record because
Unlikely.
Let's face it, we have.
I heard it's all
Unlikely.
about the person giving the clues stuff. So
It is.
Okay.
That's true.
On your mark, get set, and go.
It's not the World Series, but the football version of.
Super Bowl.
There you go. Let's go. It's not a cornerback, but a person that plays deeper.
Safety.
It is what we tried to do to win the game at the end to get the ball back.
Pass.
Well, we get one pass, by the way, was the rule.
Oh, was it? Okay. Oh, you didn't tell me that.
If
I
the
burned it on
receiver's running as far as he can down the sideline to catch a ball, he's running what type of pattern?
Go row.
Okay, there's you get it, your hair.
A haircut. A post.
It's
A tight line.
I love this.
A Hail Mary.
when we
a,
would what to black.
Fade.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, perfect, nice.
There we go.
I get the haircut reference.
This is a dirty F word in football. It's
a fumble.
There you go. This is
10 seconds.
What we do when we got 4 downs and can't get it. We do this on 4th down.
Go for it.
If we don't go for it, we
Punt.
yep. There we go.
And that's time. So let's get our count.
17.
No,
New
not
record.
17, because I'm going to beat you
22
next
correct
week.
answers.
1, 2,
Five.
3, 4, 5,
Yep.
6. I think we got 6.
Yeah, one pass.
6. Yep.
6. Congratulations. That's a new record. At 6.
Knock if it's a record.
Everyone gets
Knock if
5%
it's a
off their
record.
tabs.
Knock if
I
it's a
guarantee a new record next week as we have a great connection. All right. Thanks everybody for coming out to Coach Clack's Corner. Enjoy yourselves. Thanks to
Yeah,
Old Dog
continue
for
to
hosting.
support our sponsors who support the program.
Yeah. A
Good
lot
luck
of
out
fun.
in California.
Yeah. Thanks,
Have a
Coach.
good night, everybody.
Good
Thanks,
seeing you.
guys. Appreciate it.